What's up, physics students? Welcome to your first pre-lab video of the year. You're going to watch this in preparation for the Walk This Way lab. And the question in this lab is kind of simple, but we're going to make it, well, it might get a little more complicated. The question is, how do you get from here to there? And that's a little pre-lab beginning question, right? Yeah, there it is. How do you get from here to there? And really, if I told you where to start, what would you have to tell me in order to get exactly, or what would I have to tell you, excuse me, in order to get you exactly where I want you to go? I want you to pause this video, think about that a minute, and write something down in this blank. Begin. Did you pause? Did you? If you didn't pause, then pause. Did you pause now? Well, what I think is, if I told you where to start, in this case we're going to start in position 1. If I want you to get somewhere else, well, I'd have to tell you two things. I'd have to tell you how far to go, and I'd have to tell you what direction to go. All right? And that's your goal here, is to figure out how to get from position 1 to position 3. Now, what the heck is this thing? Well, let's take a ganders here at oh yeah, Saratoga Springs, yes. Here's the high school, and we zoom in. Oh, look at that! That's the quad. Inside the school, right here's where the buses pull up. Here's your you're like right here right now. Yeah, here's the quad. All right, here's a little map of the quad. I put one right here. Yeah. So the question in this lab is, how do you get from here, position 1, to here, position 3? All right, but as it says here, and I'd like you to be sort of reading along with this as we go, is, the bottom line is you're going to give me an answer, really two answers. I hope are the same answer. How do you get from 1 to 3, or how far is it from 1 to 3, and in what direction? You're going to find the answer two ways. First, you're going to walk from position 1 to position 3. And figure out how far it is. And you're going to use a compass on your iPhone, and you'll literally point your phone, or your Android, whatever you have, you'll point your phone in the direction that you're walking, and you'll see what the compass says. And we'll talk a little bit more about that soon. All right, you are not going to walk on the sidewalk, because we want to go from 1 to 3. So you'll be cutting across the grass. Yeah, right across the grass. Watch out for that tree, watch out for that pole. Yep, you'll get right there. All right, that right there, you see that little dot? Oh yeah, can you see that dot? That's me, baby. Not me, but it's the tape that I put down some years ago. Absolutely, we made it, people. We made it to Google. So that's kind of the easy one. You walk from 1 to 3. You measure how long what distance really it is, how far it is, and you measure what direction it is with your iPhone or your Android compass. Yes. Now the other way is, first you walk from position 1 to position 2, and then you walk from position 2 to position 3. And in each case, notice in each case you start at position 1 and you end up at position 3. It's just a matter of how you get there. But I argue that even if you start here and go over here and take a left and end up here, you should still, from that, be able to tell me how far it is from here to here and in what direction, based on walking these two different paths, from here to here, from here to there. All right, that's going to eventually end up involving a scaled drawing called a vector diagram that we either have or haven't talked more about yet. So yeah, there's that part. Now here's what it says down here. It says, what I could do is give everybody a meter stick, and you could measure it all out, or I could give a few of you some long measuring tapes, and you could just yell out your measurements to everyone else, but that wouldn't be any fun. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to use your individual style of walking as a measurement tool. All right. So in this area, right about here, that might be one of the pieces of, right around in here on this main drag here. There are two pieces of tape that are 20 meters apart. All right, what you'll do is walk that 20 meters, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 times, count your steps, and eventually you'll be able to use, you'll be able to make some proportions where if you know how many steps it takes you to go 20 meters, and then you count the number of steps it takes you to go some unknown number of meters, well, you can use a proportion and figure out how far you went. Make sense? All right. So, Now, direction, right? We said you got to measure the direction of each displacement. That's a fancy word for, up here it says, a fancy word for change in position. All right. So it's kind of like distance, but it's different. We either have or haven't talked about that yet. But it's kind of like how far you go, but it also includes what direction you went. All right. So, but we'll talk a little bit more about this in class together. Let's say that. Okay. So here's method 1. It's easy. Count your number of steps it takes you to go from 1 to 3. Just count them. All right. And convert that eventually to a distance. And measure the direction right off your handheld mobile device. And write it down. Okay? You'll make a scale drawing of this. We'll get to that. Here's method 2. First, walk from 1 to 2. Right? From here to here. Count your steps. Measure the direction using your handheld mobile device pointing in the right direction. Yes? Then go from 2 to 3. Yada, yada, yada. Right? Point your phone like that. You do that. You write down your number of steps. You measure the direction. Yeah. Okay? You're going to make another scale drawing of these. But again, let's wait for the talk about the scale drawing stuff till later. All right? But at the end of the day, this is still, notice, still method 2 here. What we want is magnitude of displacement. That's a fancy way to say how far. And direction of displacement. That's a fancy way to say what direction. All right? So, what I'd like you to have when I see you next is a data table that has blanks for all the stuff you need to record. All right? So really it's going to involve, well, kind of this stuff. All right? So if you're a little hazy, go back to what we said, well, about what method 1 is. Here's method 1. And here's method 2. And what I want you to have ready to go is a data table that has spaces for all the pieces of data, the raw data that you're going to need to record. Okay? And what I expect when you get here next time is that we spend 3, 4 minutes, 5 minutes in the class, and then we go outside and you get busy. Okay? So please don't expect me to rerun this video or to discuss what's been discussed here. I'm certainly willing to answer questions, but that question can be, I don't get any of this. I mean, if that's your question, fine, but you're going to have to come up with more than that. I don't plan to reteach entire videos worth of material. You get it? Okay. I will see you when I see you. Oh, so just so we're sure, I'll write this down in case any of us are that kind of learner. Your job, you come over here, please. For next time, we'll call it data table shelf. Okay. And remember, you need info, data to be able to give you enough to process your answers for methods 1 and 2. There's really not a ton of data you need, but just make sure we'll talk about what your data tables look like. Oh, and data tables, so we're sure, they should look something like that, right? And there needs to be, for example, heading here and units there, or maybe what we call, instead of a heading, call that a label, right? Each column of data, here's data, pieces of data. You need to say what that data is and what it's measured in, All right, it doesn't necessarily have to be right now super duper neat, but eventually it will be. All right, so when I see you next, you'll have that with whatever, however many columns, these are columns, however many columns you think are necessary, and whatever headings and units you think you need, okay? We'll come to a consensus about what the right stuff there is. All right, folks, see you soon.